May 4th, 1974. Cleveland Indians taking on the legendary Swingin' A's in a year that would be their third straight World Series victory. It was an early season day game of little real importance. There were some big names between these two teams, though. Reggie Jackson in the prime of his career, Gaylord Perry having one of his all-star years, and Vida Blue, the A's' trusted ace. However, in the top of the ninth inning, with the A's losing 8-2, Reggie Jackson was replaced in left field by a 27-year-old making his major league debut. He was a complete unknown then, and he's a complete unknown now. But his path to the majors was one that defied all baseball logic, and despite his 1,000,000-to-1 odds, he made it. His name was Champ Summers. In the early part of his life, Champ Summers was by no means a baseball player. In fact, he was a very talented multi-sport athlete primarily focusing on basketball and tennis, while also playing football and track. He played baseball casually as a kid, but quit outright when he was 13. After that, he didn't play in a single baseball game for over a decade. While attending Madison High School in Illinois, he was a key contributor for the basketball team, known especially for his physicality during games. He was also a standout tennis player and supposedly defeated a 13-year-old Jimmy Connors, who would go on to become a world #1 and tennis legend. After graduating in 1965, Summers chose to continue playing basketball at Nicholls State University. This didn't last long, though, as after only 1.5 years, Summers had an incident that changed the course of his life. During his sophomore season, Summers was kicked off the basketball team after getting into a fight with another teammate. He lost his athletic scholarship due to this, and because he was really only there for basketball, he dropped out of school. This lost him his military deferment as a student, and Summers was immediately drafted to serve in the Vietnam War. Later in life, he commented on that fight and said, "I went to Vietnam for that. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Vietnam was tough. It made me a different person. If I hadn't punched that guy and gotten kicked out of school, I wouldn't have gone to war, and I might have settled for the kind of life my father had led." In 1966, Summers reported to basic training and began the most transformative period of his life. Summers served for 2 years, spending 11.5 months in Vietnam. He spent his first 6 months as a paratrooper, and in early 1968 fought during the Tet Offensive, a series of coordinated battles in which 2,600 U.S. soldiers died. Summers later earned a Purple Heart after surviving the explosion of a landmine while driving a truck. He luckily only walked away with a concussion and a broken nose. After this, he served the remainder of his 5 months as a lifeguard on one of the Vietnam beaches. By late 1968, Summers was spending the remainder of his service time in the U.S., and in 1969 he was honorably discharged and returned home. Soon after, he enrolled at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, to continue playing basketball. He did extremely well, averaging 18.8 points a game, and even scored 53 points in a single game. Then, in his senior year at 24 years old, Summers returned to baseball, trying out for the college team. He famously arrived at the tryout riding a Harley-Davidson while shirtless. Head coach Roy Lee was skeptical since Summers hadn't played in 11 years, but he put his doubts aside after Summers, quote, tore the cover off the ball. Summers' return to baseball was outstanding. In his lone senior season, he hit .340 and led the team in home runs with 7. He was named a top 10 NCAA player that year. This performance, combined with his skills as a basketball player, led to Summers being named SIUE's Athlete of the Year for 1971. Despite his success, Summers went undrafted after graduation. However, later that year, the Oakland A's would offer Summers a contract in the most improbable way. In the summer of 1971, A's scout George Bradley noticed Summers while he was playing in a men's slow-pitch softball league. Bradley convinced A's owner Charlie Finley to sign Summers for only $500, and days later the contract was finalized. He immediately reported to the Coos Bay North Bend Athletics, and his professional baseball career officially began. 3 years later, he made his MLB debut and joined the Swingin' A's. His tenure in Oakland wasn't very long, and his primary role was as a pinch hitter. He only got 24 at-bats and was only able to record 3 hits. But in the offseason, he was traded to the Cubs, where he'd get significantly more playing time. Summers' first home run came on August 23, 1975, hitting a pinch-hit grand slam at Wrigley Field. He was slowly getting more comfortable in the majors, but it would take a couple seasons for him to finally break out. He was traded to the Reds in February of 1977 and got to play at the end of the Big Red Machine era in Cincinnati, but still couldn't find his footing. However, during the 1979 season, Summers was traded to Detroit, and this seemed to be the change of scenery he needed. In his 90 games with the Tigers in '79, Summers hit .313 with 20 home runs. Detroit loved him. The fans immediately idolized Summers for his physicality and aggressive playing style. They didn't see him as some random backup outfielder. They saw him as a Vietnam vet bringing Army-style grit to the baseball field. His fandom was so strong that soon after being traded to Detroit, a rowdy blue-collar crowd would gather in the upper deck in right field. They wore orange hunting caps and held homemade signs and were known as Champs Camp. He played in 274 games with the Tigers from 1979 to 1981, and in that time he hit .293 with 40 home runs and 132 RBIs. His time in Detroit was the height of his career. He spent 1982 and 83 with the San Francisco Giants, and in his 99 games with the club he hit .231 with only 4 home runs. But again, he was playing primarily as a pinch hitter and had little opportunities for significant production. After a brief 47 games in San Diego, Summers retired following the 1984 season. In his career, Summers totaled 350 hits, 54 home runs, and a .255 lifetime batting average. Champ Summers' career wasn't anything noteworthy on its own, but what made his story impressive is the fact that he was even there in the first place. He quit baseball at 13, he was kicked off his college basketball team, and he was a paratrooper in the Vietnam War. None of these things point to a 10-plus year career in the major leagues. But his decision to play in his local men's slow-pitch softball league turned out to possibly be the best decision of his life. He was a major leaguer, and had a career most of us would kill for, and his path to get there was one of the most absurd and amazing stories in sports.